Hey there, and welcome back to another episode of the Profitable Mindset Podcast.
Welcome to the Profitable Mindset, a show dedicated to teaching you the skills you need to build a profitable product-based business that makes you feel free and fully in control. Here is your host, Charlotte Smith.
Hey there, welcome to episode number 19 of the Profitable Mindset Podcast, how to make more money with a 2020 business marketing plan. This is actually one of my most favorite episodes I do every year. I used to do it over on the blog, and now it's on the podcast. And I've been teaching this process for about 3 years. And the most wonderful thing happens after I hit publish every year. And that is I start getting emails from several of you that have implemented this practice and report that you're finally feeling super motivated to start the new year with this new plan. I get emails from other people who say that their sales are up almost immediately once they go through this process. Someone else just emailed me and said their sales are up 68% over the year. So I love sharing this episode, and I can't wait for you to go through it with me. Now, hopefully when I said business plan in the title there, you didn't get all concerned that it was just going to be really boring and a bunch of numbers. We are going to look at some of your numbers and things like that, but I'm also going to encourage you to take a look at how to create a sustainable business on your farm, because so many farmers I talk to struggle until they finally go out of business because they just aren't enjoying it anymore. They're worn out, they aren't having any fun, and it's having often a negative effect on their family because they did all the things. They're working long hours. They are farming day and night and weekends, and they invested everything they could financially. But what they forgot was they forgot to take a look at the life sustainability part of it and ask some key questions there. So this unique process I'm giving you today will make sure that you're not just building a business based on working hard and making some money, but that you're also building a very fulfilling and sustainable business. And just know that if you are in farm marketing from the heart, then you have access to the 2-hour live training from me, okay? It's right there in the class. It's way more in depth than I have time to do on a podcast. So make sure if you're in class, you go listen to all that. You're going to hear all of my in-depth answers there that'll help you. But for the podcast, I have pulled out some of that training, what I could do here in about 30 minutes, because it has proven so helpful and transformational for so many people. So, of course, I've got a free download for you. I've got all the questions in one place so that you can follow along and you don't have to write everything down. I've got them there for you. That is at 3cowmarketing.com/bizplan2020. That's BIZPLAN 2020. Okay. So download that. It's just a few pages long and follow along. It's really going to help you in your business for this next year. Now, before I jump into that life-changing information, though, I'm going to share with you a review on iTunes. I want to give a shout out to the reviewer whose name on there is Family Beats, and they title their review, Great Info. Also, they go on to say, if you are new to farming, Charlotte gives 25 actionable steps you need to take. Save yourself time and give your farm the right foundation. She doesn't waste your time and cuts right to the heart of it. Really great information. Thank you, Family Beats. I so appreciate everyone who's leaving reviews, and this one too. If you haven't done it yet, take 5 minutes. That's all it takes, and leave one, because this information I share is transforming farms and lives. And when you leave a review, it helps get it in front of the people who need it most. So I would appreciate if you jump over there, take a minute to do that, and let me give you a shout out there too, like I did with Family Beats today. So thank you guys. This is what keeps me going. I love it. Let's dive back into episode 19 though. I have worked with farmers now doing consulting and coaching and teaching for 8 years. I've been farming for 10. And what I've noticed is, of course, farming is a very physically labor-intensive job. Therefore, it's easy for us to dive in hands and feet and work really, really hard and feel like we're building this incredible business. But what happens is many times a farmer will wake up one day and think, oh no, where did the time go? What am I actually doing in this business? And they realize they're spending their days reacting to things that are happening on their farm. And they don't really have a good grasp on how much money they're making. Or if they have an idea of how much money they're making in sales, they can't figure out why there's no money left in the bank. They're wondering, like, where's all the money going? Have you guys ever done that? I know I have over the years, which is why I've helped you guys out by bringing you some things like this episode to help you with that. So then at some point, as farmers, we realize we need to do a little better job at planning. So that's what I'm here for today. I'm going to help you do this. And you can do this exercise right now, like I do before the end of the year. I plan for next year. But if you're listening to this episode anytime during the year, you can sit down and do this exercise. Don't just wait till the end of the year, okay? Do it today. It's never too late. One more thing. I'm going to do a number of Facebook Lives on this. I'm going to break it down section by section over the next week. So if you're in the Profitable Mindset Facebook group, join me live there or look for those recordings too, because that's going to help you break it down even further. All right. So if you are one of those people waking up wondering, where in the world did the money go? Or if you know the numbers side of things, but you're still feeling unfulfilled on your farm, or maybe you're just stretched too thin, this will definitely help you. Over the years, I learned the hard way that I have to plan ahead. Like I have to plan way ahead, or I'll never get a vacation. I think we went the first 4 years of our farm without taking a vacation. Or I won't get a day off. We'll work 7 days a week for weeks on end. Or if I don't plan ahead, I find myself sacrificing personal things like my kids' activities. And that's just because our farms are so demanding and so labor intensive. So I just want to make sure this doesn't happen to you, or if it is happening to you, we can put a stop to it right now. I want you to know that a successful farmer is successful because they planned very intentionally. They don't just wake up and have a successful life and a profitable farm, but they're intentional about their mindset, which is why you're here. And they're also intentional about what they're going to grow or raise or what they're going to sell. How much are they going to sell? When, where, to whom will they sell? They're intentional about what their projected income is and what their expenses are. And they're very intentional about making sure farming is personally fulfilling for both them and the people around them, their family. Okay. And I just don't want to see you guys go out of business because it's so stressful or because you're so anxiety ridden. Okay. So that's why this is going to pull all of that together to help your farm be successful in a holistic way. We're going to take a look at everything. What I've learned about being in business is being fulfilled by your life on the farm plays a big part in your success. If you don't feel that fulfillment, you will likely end up going out of business because you're going to decide it's just not worth the stress. So let's do what successful, profitable farmers do and leave nothing to chance. To be successful and profitable, we're going to plan. I'm going to teach you how today, okay? There is so much uncertainty on a farm that if you've built a framework like we're going to do today and you've put a plan in place, it allows you to deal with that uncertainty at any given moment. We can always expect that we're going to be surprised by things regularly on the farm. So with this kind of planning we're going to do today, it helps you handle the challenges that come up in the moment. All right, so we're going to build a clear action plan for you. Now, let's dive into the questions. Hopefully you got the download. Again, that is 3cowmarketing.com/bizplan2020. And my questions, though, I want to warn you, they are going to look different than any other sort of marketing business plan you've probably done, but there's a reason behind them. You've got to have the right mindset in order to build a profitable business, and the questions will reflect that. So even the very first question is, I want you to dream really big and write down, what does the perfect farm year look like for you? Like, what is your big dream for your farm this year? And I mean to think of it as if failing was not an option. If you could not fail, what does success at a profitable farm look like to you? I want you to write down your dream for 2020 and then write down how you feel about it, okay? This is so important. It's a first step that I don't want you to skip. So few times do we actually dream really big and make a note of it. And when we don't do that, we just don't have a clear vision of what we are striving for every day. So take some time to write down what it would look like if you had a perfect year on your farm. And I want to encourage you to set a big dream. I don't want you to set a little dream like you want to increase your sales by 20%. When we set small dreams like that or small goals like that, what happens is we can just work a little harder to reach that dream. And you don't have to change into a new person. You don't have to learn new capabilities or challenge yourself too hard. You can just work a little harder. But at a certain point, you can't work any harder and there's no more hours in the day and your growth will just stagnate or stall. But what happens is when you decide that you're going to reach this really big goal and you make your dreams bigger than you think are even possible, in trying to reach that big dream, you will have to become a new person. And I'm going to explain a little bit about what I mean there. So about a year ago, I set this big dream goal. And what it was is I decided to triple my revenue for the year. Now, I was maxed out on my time personally. I knew I would not be able to work harder to reach that goal. I was personally at capacity. I have 2 assistants and I have employees on the farm. We were all at our limit. I physically could not put any more time into the farm and business. But what it did by having that dream and setting that big goal is it forced me to become a different person. Here's what I knew. I knew that I needed more self-discipline in my life. I needed more energy. I needed less stress. I was traveling a lot. I was speaking a lot, and that is great for business. It builds my email list, but I kept getting sick from all this travel and these long days and late nights because I wasn't taking as good of care of myself as I could. And I knew that if I practiced better physical and mental self-care, I'd be more likely to reach that goal. So what I did is I decided a year ago to drastically change my diet. I cut out sugar and flour and alcohol, except on very special occasions. Okay. Yesterday was Thanksgiving and I did have a piece of pumpkin pie. But I don't do those things very often because in order for me to reach my dreams, this is a requirement. I also knew that I needed to physically work out 5 days a week instead of I was lucky if I got in 2 little workouts a week. I also became a very disciplined person who always keeps my commitments to myself. And that is my commitments to eat and drink the way I want to, and my commitment to working out, but also my commitments to complete the projects I plan for each day. My commitment to execute my calendar concisely each day. Instead of just reacting to everything that was going on, I would decide what 1 to 3 things I was going to complete each day, and I would keep that commitment to myself. And when we become a person who keeps our commitment to ourselves, oh my gosh, You will find so much more time in your day once you decide you're going to keep your commitments to yourself, which then makes it possible for the time for the self-care that you need to do to make those big dreams possible. And I promise you this, okay? So then I set that big dream goal a year ago. Now here it is a year later. I'm 15 pounds lighter. I'm at my ideal weight. I have so much more energy. I sleep better, and I'm able to take on so many more speaking engagements, and I teach more workshops. I'm coaching more people one-on-one than ever before, and I'm helping thousands of people each year transform their lives. And I feel like I have boundless energy, really, like I've never had before, like a brand new person. And I could not have tripled my sales as the person I was a year ago or 2 years ago. But the person I had to become in order to triple my sales this year made that goal possible. Now, to be transparent here, I did not quite reach the triple the sales goal for 2019, but it doesn't even matter because the things I did attain on the way to that goal are phenomenal. This podcast is one of them. I wanted to have this podcast going by the end of 2019, and I started it in May of 2019. Everything I had to do to try to reach that dream for 2019 has made my life so much better. So it doesn't even matter that I didn't reach that impossible goal or that big, huge dream. It was a guidepost that I had out there. And that alone changed my life. It's going to be the same thing for you. So take some time to write about your big dream there and get it down in writing. And make some notes about how you feel about that too. Okay, next, let's move on to step 2, where I want you to write down what are your non-negotiables for the year. This is where you decide what you refuse to do or what you insist on doing in the new year, okay? What are you no longer willing to do so that you can work toward reaching that big dream we just talked about? Or what do you insist on not sacrificing in your life? This is where we're going to start to make your life more fulfilling. I have found myself constantly sacrificing my so-called non-negotiables in the past, but that just led to burnout and wondering why in the world I was working so hard because I wasn't even enjoying it. The non-negotiables in my life are things like I decided I was no longer willing to be sucked in by Facebook and social media on my phone. So I eradicated my Facebook feed, so I don't see it anymore. It's been about 2 years and I don't see it. I keep my phone on Do Not Disturb 24/7, so my phone no longer rings or dings or sends me notifications. Now, my favorites can call. Okay, so my kids, my husband, my daughter's school, they can call me and I will get notified of that, but I don't get any other notifications. So therefore, I decide when I'm going to take a look at my phone and check up on things. And that has been such a wonderful commitment and thing that I did that I'm definitely keeping that up. That is a non-negotiable for me. I have another non-negotiable. That's the first hour of the day. I call it my power hour. That's when I manage my thoughts. Never give that up. And another non-negotiable for this year is that in the past, my daughter has wanted to show her horse in 4-H, and I've always sacrificed that. I've said, oh, we can't do it this year because we've got this big event on the farm. Well, this year, that is my new non-negotiable. I'm going to keep that commitment to her and let her show some horse 4-H this summer. I will not negotiate that away again this year. Okay, so you make a note of your non-negotiables. Step 3, I want you to decide on a gross income projection for this year. And do it this way. Don't just write out the net or the profit, but decide what is your gross sales going to be and write that down. Now, I decided that our farm's gross this year will be $150,000. So you write down what yours is going to be. And then step 4, moving on, what worked last year and what did not work? Here's why we're doing this. A lot of farmers I work with have things that don't work really well in their farm anymore, and they keep doing them just because they've always done them or because they feel obligated to by some outside person or group, or they think that because they committed to something, they can't change their mind about it. But the challenge is we're talking about your life's sustainability here. So you've got to take a look at what worked and then decide what you're going to do about what didn't work. I don't want you to just let everyone else determine what worked or didn't work. I want you to determine what worked and what didn't work and what you're going to stop doing. Okay, as an example, we tried once a day milking for a while, for about 9 months. That didn't work, okay? So we had almost all the same expenses, but half as much milk to sell. So that was a flop. And over the years, there are so many things that didn't work. We take a hard look at them every year, and we are very decisive when we decide we're no longer going to do it. For instance, we have tried heritage turkeys in the past and heritage hogs because customers said they were interested in them, and they did not work on our farm. So even though people encouraged us to do them, we decided they did not work for us. Okay. So the other thing, there's something that worked really well. It showed a lot of profit. And that is we do a kids farm camp every year for about 8 years. Now that kids farm camp works great, but what I want to share with you is I feel like I've outgrown it. I was not interested in doing that farm camp anymore. So even though it worked, I was not enjoying it. My daughter aged out of it. And so it just didn't have the same passion or purpose that it had for me in the past. So even though that worked on paper, we decided not to do that anymore. And now I get to teach other farmers how to hold a farm camp. It was always a great influx of money right in the spring when everyone paid their registration. So it worked really great. And I love sharing it with other farmers, but I'm too old. I don't want to do the kids farm camp anymore. And for me to have a fulfilling life on the farm, I had to take a look at that, a really good look at that, and decide not to do it. So I just see way too many people stick to something for too long that doesn't work for them anymore. And so it's okay to decide that something doesn't work and you want to stop doing it anymore. And that is going to help you feel more fulfilled on your farm too. Okay, now in step 5, we're going to take a look at some numbers. This is often the part that a lot of people don't like to do, but know that what gets your attention is the thing that gets fixed or changed or improved. What you focus on will grow. So if you don't look at your stats or your numbers, you're not just going to stumble on success. You don't just wake up one day and you made $500,000 in sales, okay? You don't wake up and have that kind of success. You have that kind of success because you study the numbers and plan. So let's look at your numbers. Now, one of the reasons I highly recommend the Square app for all our marketing students too is the way they track all the transactions and give me reports. And I get a daily report of sales and a weekly and monthly and annually. And I can look in there and track my customer growth. So that's what I want you to look at first. Just go down the list in that download you got, and you're going to look at what is your customer growth over the last year. And I could see right there in the Square app that ours grow about 25% every year. And that is exactly what I need. So our farm, we kind of go by the 80-20 rule. I've noticed that we have about a 20% customer turnover a year. We retain about 80% of our customers. So we need to bring in about 20% new customers each year. And my Square app shows that I'm right in line with that. Okay. Now, know that we're in a place where we're not in growth mode on our farm anymore. We aren't expanding to any more land. So we are maintaining the products we got for sale right now and the amounts. So 25% is perfect for us. If you're in growth mode on your farm, then you may need a number that's bigger than that. But I'm really happy with my number. So write your number down there too. Next, take a look at your email subscribers and write that number in the space there too. How much did they grow over the year? I keep a Google spreadsheet and I have a project task in my project management software, Asana. It's free software that is invaluable if you want to give that a try. It sends me an email once a week and tells me to update my subscriber number. And so now I have probably 3 years of info on my email subscribers, and that number grows by about 33% each year. So again, that is just perfect for me. I love my list growing by that amount. Okay, so write down those stats. And then part 2 of that step 5 is I want you to write down your metrics. I have all the blanks filled in there. So fill in the blanks starting with your average open rate on your marketing emails. Ours is right about 35%, and yours should be right around 30 to 35% too. If you practice what I teach in my marketing course, that number may go up and down a little bit. And if you're brand new, if your email list is still really small, you could be up at 60, 70, 80%. But as it grows, you're probably going to settle into 30 to 35%. If you're significantly lower than that, that is just some good feedback that you've got some work to do on your email marketing. So send me an email and let's get your numbers up higher if you're one of my marketing students. If not, you're going to want to invest some time in learning how to improve your email marketing. Now, the next question on there, what's your average click rate? Ours is 10%. And then if you placed Facebook ads or Instagram ads, what was the dollar return on those ads? So write all this down and be sure to keep this workbook from year to year too, because I do publish this every year and walk you through it. So it's fun to look back and compare it to years past. Now, let's just keep going down the list. How much money did you take in for the year? I already said ours, it's the same number as my projected for the next year, $150,000. And then write down your total expenses. We keep ours right at about $75,000. So we've got a nice little second income for our farm there. My husband works off the farm. He does get our medical insurance, which is really nice. So then if we have that 50% profit margin there, we're bringing in about $70,000 to $75,000 a year. It's great. And that only happens because we track it very closely and we look at it every year and we assess and we make sure we're on track. Okay. So just make sure you write down your numbers in this workbook here. Too many farmers don't know their expenses or their sales numbers, and just know that you won't grow or reach profit without studying them. Okay, now we're going to move into step 6, which is the personal fulfillment piece. This is very exciting. These questions for me are the life-changing part, and it's important you answer them. So go through there and answer the questions like, what did I really enjoy doing this year on the farm? What did I love growing or creating or working on? Okay, so write down what you loved. So few times we do what we think we're supposed to do instead of what we love doing. And you realize you're not living a very fulfilling life, which is no way to live and can lead to illness too. Now, of course, there are some things we're going to have to do every day. Okay. But if you don't have a personal fulfillment piece in there at all, you're going to get really tired of just doing the same labor-intensive work every day. Okay. And again, if you're in my marketing course, you got the full-on webinar training there and you heard all of my answers and in depth and all the why behind it. So make sure you watch that. It's going to really inspire you. But everyone else, make sure you're answering these questions. And then the question number 2 there is, what did you hate working on? What was too tough? Or what are you tired of doing? What do you feel like you've outgrown? For sure, one of those things for me was farm camp. I just didn't enjoy it anymore. So we were able to shift. Now, you can't shift away everything you don't enjoy, perhaps, but that was one thing that we were able to replace and do something else that was more fulfilling for us. Another part of this is as my husband and I age, and he just turned a big number birthday, I won't mention here since he listens to the podcast, we're very aware that we need to take more care of our bodies physically because we're getting older. So we are assessing what's gotten too tough or what's just not a smart risk at our age. And you've got to pay attention to that as you get older too. It's really important. All right, now, next question. What was your biggest moneymaker? And then right after that is, what was your biggest moneymaker on the farm with the least amount of effort? Because even though raw milk is a great moneymaker, it's very labor intensive. So is there something else you make money on? Even though it might be less money overall. Like for us, it's our cheese classes. I can make $3,000 to $4,000 in a day, and I get really loyal customers from our classes. So our classes are great profit margins, and they just aren't as physically demanding as milking the cows. So as we age, it's good for us to take a look at how can we fit more classes in there for sustainability and for cash flow and balance that out with the other things that are also good cash flow, but much more labor intensive. And then following that question, the next one is, what is the least moneymaker on your farm? So for us, the least moneymaker is eggs, and it is that for a lot of farmers. But right after that, you see the question of, is that least moneymaker beneficial in other ways? And yes, eggs for us, it's still beneficial, even though it's not a moneymaker. And that's because often people's first visit to the farm will be because they want to buy farm fresh eggs. So that gets them out here. And then once they're here and they meet us, they decide to buy the other things and they become customers for life, really loyal customers. So we're going to still keep doing eggs, but there were other money makers that I was able to look at going through this process that really weren't beneficial in other ways. And in the full training webinar, I take more time to explain why. But in a nutshell, it was things like reselling other people's product. Some of the neighbors wanted us to sell their honey and their jams, and they were not very big money makers, and they did not bring customers out like the eggs did. So there was no reason to continue doing that. So this process will force you to take a look at all those things too, and really take a look at your numbers. Now, the next question is, what brought in the most customers on your farm? What are you doing or selling that brings in the most customers? Again, for us, it's raw milk. People want raw milk, and it's hard to find in our area. So that's often how they find us. And the second way they find us very commonly is because they're looking for pastured chickens. So those two things bring in more people than anyone else. And then next is, take a look at the second to last question there. And that is, where did you not have enough resources? Like, where did you not have enough people to help with the farm work or the sales process? Or maybe you didn't have enough money. Hello. That's probably true for all of us. Although on our farm, it was the first few years we did not have enough of the resource of money. But after 10 years, that's kind of evened out. And we're lacking in other resources. So that's why it's important to take a look at that, including things like time or confidence. That's a resource. Did you have enough confidence? Okay. What about support from your spouse or other people? Did you have enough support? Okay. So it's good to take a look at, where do you wish you had more resources? Okay. And that's feedback to you of things to take a look at for changing or growing or implementing for next year. Maybe you need to hire help or hire a second or third employee. Okay. So moving on. The final question in that personal fulfillment section is, what did I want to do that I never got to do? And are those things that you want to plan for in 2020? Ask yourself that. So many of us started farming for some reason that we ended up putting off and never doing. So write that down. Take a look at it. Is it time for you to start doing that thing? So maybe you always wanted to do a kids' farm camp, but never knew exactly how. Maybe this is a year you'll decide to implement that thing you wanted to do, but you haven't done it yet. Okay. And this is just going to help you be more fulfilled by your farm when you can finally do that thing you've always dreamed of doing. Now, next step 7, is I want you to list out all the ways you make money in your business. So on the left-hand column there, you're going to see a bunch of blank lines. That's going to list all the products you sell or the things you do to make money. Like my list says chickens and eggs and classes and workshops and all that. And then on the right side, right across from each line item, you're going to put your revenue projections for 2020 next to them. Then you're going to add them up. And then you're going to notice when you add them up, do they match that number, that revenue projection or that gross number you put on the front page? Remember question number 3, your gross revenue projection for the year. Do the items you sell, your products, your classes and all that, do those numbers add up to that number on the front page? And if not, this is going to show you where the discrepancies will be in this next year in reaching your sales goal. And this is one of those steps that I see a lot of people skip, or they don't realize they skipped it. They'll pick a number, like they'll say, well, I want to make $100,000 in sales on their farm this next year. But they forget to then take a look at each individual product and sales and see if it adds up to that big number. So I break mine down exactly. You can see exactly how I project that we will get to that $150,000 mark that I picked over on page 1, okay? And that comes from our chickens, our raw milk, speaking, turkeys, eggs. And in the full training, you will see me break that down, and you will see that I came within about $1,000 of our projected income. So many farmers forget to connect the products they are selling to their projected revenue. So if you want to make $100,000, let's make sure the things you are selling, your projections will add up to match that number. Okay? All right. And now we are down to the last 2 questions, which might be the most important questions of this whole episode. And that is step 8. Who will I have to become to have success in 2020? For me, when I did this exercise a year ago, I had to become a person who was much more disciplined in several areas of my life. I decided to become a person who was more disciplined in eating. Like I said, I cut out flour and sugar. I don't drink, except for special occasions. Like I said, Thanksgiving was yesterday. And that meant that I became a person who weighed 15 pounds less now than I weighed a year ago. And when I did that, oh my gosh, I have energy, just boundless, limitless energy, which means I can manage a lot more in my life and just reach and attain so many more of my goals. I also became a person over the last year who I manage my thoughts every single day by doing that power hour, the first hour of my day. That ensures that I go through my days feeling confident no matter what happens or who says what. I feel confidence. I am focused. I'm energetic. I'm motivated. When I do that, there is no room for self-doubt or scarcity thinking. There's no room for complaining. There's no room for me to compare myself to anybody else. It doesn't even matter. Because I had to become a person who keeps my commitments to myself. And that's it. If I said I was going to do something, I did it. And that included if I made a commitment or if I decided I had to break a commitment, I did that. I just became a person who keeps all my commitments to myself. And I was not that person a year ago or 2 years ago or 5 years ago. So this is where you get to ask yourself, who will you have to become for success in 2020? And what is the first step you can take to become that person? You guys, this is a powerful, powerful question, and I can't wait for you to answer it for yourself, okay? And feel free to go into the private Facebook group, The Profitable Mindset, after you listen to the podcast and tell me over there, who's the person you have to become? Share your dream that you're going to write down, okay? We're going to have so many conversations about that over there. I'd love for you to join in on that conversation too. And then brings us to the very last question. Does this plan that you just filled out, does it make you eager to start 2020? So many of us forget that we need to experience positive emotions daily in our business. Emotions like excited and motivated and encouraged and confident, or we just won't be sustainable long term. So after you fill out this little booklet, the free download, ask yourself, do you feel eager or excited to start 2020? And I hope you do. But if not, because there are some people who dread the year coming up, and often they don't even realize they're dreading it until they did this exercise. But if that is you, ask yourself, why are you dreading it? What part of this plan doesn't excite you? And ask yourself, what are you not looking forward to this next year on your farm? Ask why. Why are you not looking forward to it? Okay, answer that question. It's going to help you figure out what is holding you back from being excited and fulfilled. And then once you figure that out, you can address it, whether it's something that needs to be tweaked or changed or deleted. But just know that I want you to be excited for 2020. This exercise is going to help you. And if you're not, it's going to help you figure out why either. So let's get together and have this conversation about it. I'm super excited for 2020. I want you to be too, okay? So that's a wrap on this 2020 business marketing plan. It has been so helpful for my students over the last 3 years who have participated in it. I hope you'll give it a try. And if you need more support on this, if you want to figure some things out, come work with me one-on-one. I take on about 10 clients a week. You can read more about that over at 3cowmarketing.com/work with me. And again, get this complete business marketing plan at 3cowmarketing.com/bizplan 2020. I hope you went through this. Hope you're excited and eager for 2020. I am, and I would love for you to join me. All right, take care. I'll see you in the next episode.
Thank you so much for tuning in to today's episode. For more great resources, check out theprofitablemindset.com. See you next time.